this is Dave Nasty with NextLevelGuitar.com, and today we're going to talk about doing some cool bluesy licks. We're going to talk about the key of C minor. We're going to mention some cool stylistic things that Eric Clapton liked to do over the years in his playing. And we're just going to talk about some simple movement that you can do within the minor pentatonic scale and kind of switch gears from some of our other lessons a little bit. Hey everybody, before I forget, please click on the link that you see below in the YouTube text box if you would like a free lesson that is not available on YouTube and a coinciding ebook that goes right along with it that will show you a bunch of different scale shapes. Again, you'll get a lesson that's not on YouTube, and all you got to do is click on that link in the coinciding text box that you see below. So what I like to do first off is just cover some of the positions we're going to use, and then we'll take one particular lick because of course with blues playing there's so much improvising that goes on. We're going to talk about one lick that can be used to work as kind of a passage between some other ideas that you have. A lot of times that's a real important thing when it comes to blues playing. You kind of have your own licks in your toolbox that you like to use, and you can have these quick flurries of notes that can change things up a little bit and make you think a little bit differently. So first off, let's outline our scale positions that we're going to use, right? So as I said, C minor, position 1. Within that scale shape, of course, we have a lot of attention that could be done with our vibrato using simple passages, right? That is really traditional in some of these worn out roads that we've done before, right? The next thing we're going to think of, though, before we dig too deep, right? I can get ahead of myself. Let's talk about the second scale shape because that's going to be important in this case. That's going to start from 11th fret with my middle finger. Just to kind of put some resolution between these two ideas. Some of the notes and licks that we're going to focus on here are going to involve some of our higher strings, right? And some of these combining of these two positions, I guess I should say, right? So let's dive right on in. The pattern that I want to talk about sounds just like this. Right? One more time. So let me break that down. What's going to be cool is we're going to take that and we're going to move it throughout some of these different positions. And with those quick hammers and pulls that you can do, in addition to adding some pick notes, you stylistically can cover some of that British blues interpretation that was thrown back at us a long time ago, right? So what you're going to do here to start with is we're going to go with two picked notes. We're going to start on the 8th fret, and then of course notice I've switched fingers. When I outlined that scale, I was using my pinky, right? Well, we're talking about Eric Clapton in this case, and we know that Eric Clapton, if you've watched a lot of video footage, very often doesn't really use his pinky too much, right? And I'll talk about some of the advantages to visually looking at that scale with the different fingering as well. But what I have here is this. Really easy. Now, instead of keeping it really even, which is a great way to get it down, in context, you have a bit of a rushing between a couple of these notes. And that's a dynamic that you really want to think about when incorporating this into your playing. The vibrato that I'm using with my middle finger on my F note. Really, really round in tone, and this is what I want to think about, right? I want to make sure that I'm executing this in the middle of the fret as much as possible so I can manipulate the string and really get a warm sound that I'm getting from articulating the pick in various positions of the guitar, right? You got to remember that when you're playing with such a clean tone, depending upon the location of where you articulate the note, it's going to sound different. So it's important to be consistent with that. So we have this to start. Call that part 1. Part 2 is going to go like this. Just ascending in the scale shape. When you put those two together, right? We're going to add part 3. So what that is that's going to be your C note, hammer on a pull off from your E flat, pulling off from B flat to our G, So part 1, part 2, part 3. A really cool smooth lick that you can put right here in C minor, okay? So let's put this in a different scale position to kind of see what choices you might make if you were to do this using alternate fingerings, right? So that second scale position. If we're going to execute that same lick within the shape, we're going to have a new position, right? But we're going to still do the exact same motions with our hand. In this case, I'm going to go 11, 13. Here's part 1. Right? Remember, part 1 before was this. We've changed it. Part 2. Part 3. So many neat dynamics and pacing that you can do with this kind of idea. The flow of it is really, really cool and simple to execute, and just really a lot of fun because it starts to bring back some of those memories of licks that you've heard from songs past, right? So you have. Now, if you notice, I started with a bit of a different note there. You can always change things just slightly. That was with my middle finger. Still did everything exactly the same. I just gave it a bit of a pickup note. Right? You can do the same thing here. Nice way to just kind of change things up a little bit. Now, as I said before, when I outline the scale shape I want to address this, I use my pinky, right? And now when I'm executing the lick, I'm using my middle finger. The thing that I noticed the most over the years with my playing is what keeps me inspired is the way that I look at the fretboard. Visualization of the fretboard is extremely important because it gives you a new perspective as you're learning some of these different licks or things that stylistically you might have not done. When you use a different finger, it changes the way you look at it. You may have noticed when you use a lick, or when you learn a lick rather, if you're going through it and maybe one time in the course of learning it, you might use one finger. Then the next time on the pass, you might use a different finger and it throws you off a little bit. That's part of the muscle memory development, right? Being consistent with the way you use your fingers is how you get these licks down and you learn them. So in this particular case, if I was to go with my pinky, I may choose to do something completely different afterwards. I might go into a bend with a double stop on the high string. That's the first thing that comes to mind when I use my pinky. When I use my third finger, however, to go, I'm thinking I'm going to slide up because I have so much control and accuracy that can be executed from sliding. I've got those notes right there, those fingers right there to really add a lot of comfort with my vibrato and get a good tone there. And that's just visually the way I looked at the guitar. I went like this, just a knee-jerk reaction. But if I go, I'm going to play differently. So that's something that can be achieved when you learn things in a different fingering or style of another player. And that's the best benefit that you can get from learning licks from another player, is shedding a new perspective, shedding a good visualization on the fretboard, right? So we left off with this position. So now let's outline the third pentatonic scale. Now I'm using just my first finger and third finger to execute this whole thing. All right, one more time. Right? To incorporate this pattern, starting with my index finger on C, part 1, part 2, part 3. Now, this is very Eric Clapton right here in this particular region of the guitar. So you can really bring it out strong right there. Right? Another kind of lick that he would do. Look at that little end right there. Really, really cool kind of way to end it. A little bit of vibrato, quick hammer on. Ooh. Really nice way to flow through the lick. Putting that in different positions, starting with a pickup note. Different kind of movements that you can do that are really part of a classic style that you can go on with for hours. So I'll stop it there, but I just want to say thank you for checking it out. It's been a great pleasure to bring you this lesson. It's a style that I really am fond of. So again, check out nextlevelguitar.com for all the lessons and instrumental videos that you can find that will benefit your playing and help you along with your everyday.